Welcome to the Ecstatic Business Show. I am so excited to introduce you to Halle Eavelyn, one of my dear friends and the money manifestation queen. She is brilliant at helping female entrepreneurs break through their limiting beliefs and their money blocks in order to achieve more abundance more easily, to be more in flow and maintain their self-worth as well as their net worth. So Halle, I am so excited that we get to dive into one of my favorite topics, which is like the energetics of money. What is really going on in the spiritual realm when we're talking about money?
Yeah, the energetics of money is a really great way of putting it. I feel like we come at this from a place where money is the most important thing. Like we have seen money's responsible for people committing murder, people committing suicide, divorces, countries lost or won, people caring about countries being lost or won. You know, we have this very accurate expression in the Western world where we say, you know, you want to find out why something is happening, follow the money.
Yes.
And we know that by following the money, we can see the real reasons behind things. If you look at like what's going on with the Ukraine-Russia, conflict right now, you follow the money and you see exactly what is at stake, which is, as they say, like the breadbasket of Europe is at stake at the moment. That's all money oriented. They've done studies, and we know that if we really all put if all of our wealth was in like one particular location and we just piled it all up, there would be enough resources for the entire world. I was reading yesterday that Jeff Bezos, I think they said that he makes, that not he personally, but Amazon makes something like $20 million profit per hour. So, you see something like that, and then it's like, but kids don't have money for school lunches. They're going to sleep hungry or they're waking up hungry. There's no excuse for any of that. Women are walking 8 hours each way to get water in villages in Africa. There's no excuse for that. We are at a place where we allow money in and we're aware of this, this is both a miracle and the big shame for me when I look at, all the things we're doing around money. We are at a place where we understand that we're allowing in as much money as we're allowing in. Now, not everybody understands that, obviously.
Yeah.
But when we start studying not just spiritual principles, but like, let's talk quantum physics. Like when you start studying quantum physics, we can see that we are allowing in however much we're allowing in. We want to allow more, we widen the stream. The stories, the beliefs, the history says we have to work hard for your money. But if you look at welfare moms, if you look at people, single mothers working 3 jobs, if you look at politicians on golf courses, we know that's not true. Right? We know that working harder does not correlate to
earning more
money, right?
Yeah.
So what does correlate? Being aligned with your money. And being aligned with your money, there are blocks that we will create for ourselves our whole lives. And out of the way, like enough money can show up. But can enough money show up, or can an abundance of money show up? That's the energetic of it. The bottom line, and the first thing really that I ever care about with money, is that everybody understands it is the energy of money, which comes from money being just energy. Money is nothing but energy. Everything else is a story that we've told. Now, I often keep my $100 bills are in my fire safe at the moment, so I can't just whip it out. I often keep $100 on my desk just so I can have this conversation. But the $100 bill is a piece of paper. The check, $100 million, is still just a piece of paper. We have a story that says we've attached this belief, we've attached this this truth to it, and that's what gives it value. So I think that's the basic principle for the energetics of money. Is these are stories and conversations that we all buy into, and that's what makes it real or not real.
Yeah, I love this. And speaking of stories, I want to hear the story of how did you get into this? So We talk about sacred success stories. And my favorite stories are the one when you didn't feel successful, when you felt like a complete failure, when everything went to pot and you hit rock bottom. Those are the stories where I find this is where the spark is lit, where the seed is planted, where everything of who you were meant to be originates, usually from our darkest moments. So I would love for you to share, as vulnerably as you feel like you'd like to, of kind of what was that moment for you?
Yeah, so I tell the story in one of my books, Nutra Glamorous: How to Feel Beautiful Inside and Out. Um, and so I've told the story often enough that it made it into one of my books, and I think that it's something that, like, everybody has that moment where you're like, this is my rock bottom.
Yeah.
Um, I was living in Los Angeles. I was attending Agape, which is a big spiritual center.
Mhm.
Reverend Michael Beckwith is one of the secret teachers, and so he was our minister. And I had had a spiritual awakening in Egypt, which is a whole nother story, which we can get into in a little bit. But I'd had a spiritual awakening maybe a couple of years earlier, but I was still very much foundering. I wasn't comfortable
Mhm.
with my spirituality. I wasn't comfortable with my, like, I would call God the G word, like, because I couldn't get it out of my mouth. Like, I was not, and I was I was in argument with spirit at this point. I was like,
Sure.
like, you better explain these things to me and they better make logical sense. Whereas, now I know, like, if it's spirit, it's probably not going to make logical sense. And that will be a
Mhm.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
There are bigger things than logic, but at this time, that was about all I could handle. So
Mhm.
um, I was in a class with Reverend Michael, and he said, just add another zero to your bank account. And you
Mhm.
can do that. We just reach into the energetic vault, and we just reach into the vibrational, the vault of the universe, and we just,
Mhm.
add another zero to our bank account. And I remember sitting in this class so pissed off and being like, well, now my negative $10 in my bank account is going to be negative $100. What the hell good is that going to do me? I was so mad, so mad. And then I guess two things happened after that. So one was that I don't remember. It's interesting. I don't remember the order that these two things happened, but they're both worth telling because it's really like the change that occurred. So um, one thing that happened was I was aware that I had really good parking karma. Like,
Mhm.
I could find the last parking spot in, on a snowy Christmas Eve in front of the mall next to the handicapped spot. Like, that was me. Like, I could just do that automatically. And it got to the point where I would trust that. And I would just say,
Mhm.
like, oh, of course my parking, no parking. Well, not for me. My parking karma will kick in, and boom, somebody would pull out right in front of me. And I was like,
Mhm.
that's cool. Well, a few
Yeah.
times of that, I was like, that's a pattern. And a few more times, I was like, that's something that I believe in. That's something that I
In our
can.
family, we call it a superpower, right? My middle son, his superpower is luck. And he just takes it for granted now. He's like, well, yeah, because I'm lucky. Like he
Right,
just,
right.
that's his superpower.
And
Yeah.
I was always lucky my whole life,
hmm
but I had now, at this point, I had already been through a full industry collapse
hmm
of, I was in the software business. I was a pioneer in interactive movies, and the whole industry had collapsed, and it had really taken everything and everybody down with it, including our company. And so I was like, like, going around slurping up raindrops out of puddles and hoping that there would be enough to get me to the next puddle. Like, it was still bad. And I
hmm
hadn't yet found, my next industry and my next career move, and my next big success. And we had known what to do, but my partner, who was also my love, would not listen to what we needed to do, which was, there were people walked into the door of our company every week with multi-million-dollar offers, and he just wouldn't take it. He was like, we're gonna, like, this is our lifestyle company. We are going to just live like this forever. And so we used to have arguments about art versus commerce because he didn't
Mm,
understand, and I intuitively did, but didn't even understand my intuition at the time. So it was just like, okay, so we do whatever you want. I just didn't, we didn't understand business cycles at that point. So we
mhm,
didn't. We were like, oh, now that we're here, we're going to stay here, and that was just not true. So
mhm,
we had now ridden this very successful thing absolutely into the ground, where
mm.
we were no longer experiencing rain, just the occasional drop in what used to be full lakes, right? So
Ah,
it was bad. So in the middle of all of this, this I had this awareness, huh, if everything is energy, if money is just energy, what if my parking karma could be my money karma? And that was the
mhm,
first time I dealt with the energetic principle of transference. And spirit has had a lot to say to me over the years. I actually have whole exercises that I do with people in my programs that are about transference. But in this moment, what if I took this and brought it over here, this thing that I do all the time consistently and I'm really good at, and brought it over here? Would that be okay? And the answer was yes. So that was one piece that really got me on my path. The
mhm,
other piece was Reverend Michael at that time was teaching science of mind, which is
mhm,
a set of spiritual principles which date back to, I think, the 1930s or so. And it's basically a scientific approach to prayer. And the
mm,
concept is, listen, don't take our word for it. Go out and conduct these experiments in prayer for yourself and manifest things. And this is
mm.
way before The Secret, like 5, 6 years before it came out. But we were still dealing with not just the law of attraction, but all of the principles of the laws of the universe, right?
Now, is there a book about
So
the science of prayer? Is that referenced
the
somewhere?
science of mind is absolutely, there is a book called The Science of Mind. And the guy who wrote The Science of Mind, hold on, I am Googling this um, even as
Yeah,
we
'cause you know the
speak.
science of getting rich is out
No,
there.
the Science of Mind is Ernest Holmes, and Ernest
And
Holmes is the founder of Science of Mind teachings. And
okay.
one of my, I'm interrupting that story to tell you this one. One of the apocryphal stories is that Bill W., who wrote the big book for the Alcoholics Anonymous book, and Ernest Holmes were contemporaries, and they traded books.
Mm.
And Bill said, yours is really good too, and we're saying the same thing, but mine is easier to read.
Mm.
So I don't know how my camera got unplugged,
It decided it was
but
like, "This is too much. We are overwhelmed by the awesomeness of Halle."
how do I plug my camera back in?
Um, no
That's
worries. So while you figure that
interesting.
out, I just want to say hello to our visitors and the people who are chiming in. Do put your questions in the chat. We have time at the end where we're going to be asking Hallie your questions. So if you have questions about money, about blocks, around abundance, what does it mean for you to just pull things out of the vibrational vault of the universe and add a zero to the end of your account? Definitely put those in the chat, put those in the comments, and we can ask Hallie your questions at the end. And I think from my side, like I didn't appreciate how important this was. For me, the book was Psycho-Cybernetics. I think it's Max something or other, but there you are. Um, but realizing that we all have an internal set point. So kind of like your thermostat in your home. If you set your thermostat to 70 degrees, then if it gets too hot, it will kick in the air conditioning. If it gets too cold, it'll kick in the heat. And all of us have a money set point where this is how much we are worth. And if we start making too much money, we will lose it. If we start making not enough money, we will find ways to attract more. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I am comfortable at this level. And therefore,
Yeah,
when I start making more money, I lose clients. When I start making not enough client money, I attract clients. And it's not like I'm doing more or less marketing. It's simply just when I'm outside of my worthiness window, we
yeah.
start adjusting to bring us back into our worthiness window.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I specialize in is call it what you just said, which is raising your worthiness window. I specialize in helping women lift off their money ceilings because I
Mhm.
know a lot of women who are like, I can make $500,000, but not a penny more. I can make, like I coached a woman late last year who was she had made $95,000. That was the most she had ever made in a year. And she said, but I can't get past six figures. And I said, well, we will get past six figures for you within 30 days. And sure enough,
Mm.
she closed out, it was maybe November when we had this conversation, and she closed out the year with like $106,000. But
Yay.
what was the shift was that she got out of her own way and she stopped believing that that was all that she was capable of. So I
Right.
want to go back to this idea of the science of mind. So now we
Yep.
know it's, Ernest Holmes,
Mhm.
and then it does have very much the same principles as Alcoholics Anonymous book, which turns out to
Mhm.
be very spiritual. Not, I thought it was Christian. It's super, super spiritual. All this stuff is super spiritual. And it
Mhm.
says, like, don't take my word for it. Don't take God's word for it. Co-create this with God, right? Co-create this with
Mhm.
whatever your higher power is. And the steps are very simple. The five-step scientific approach to prayer is acknowledge that God is everything everywhere, acknowledge that therefore you are a part of that because you are part of everything everywhere. Ask for the thing that you desire, claim it as if, this is step 4, claim it as if you already had it, and then let it go. That's step 5, right? So
Mm.
I was terrible at step 4. I was so literal. Oh my gosh. I think back on this time, so literal. So step 4 is claim it as if you already had it. So I have negative $100 in my bank account and I'm supposed to have $1,000,000 in my bank account. That just does not, well, I was trying to like go from, from my drop of water to the ocean, right? It takes a minute to get the flow going. So I could have started with $1,000. I probably could have imagined that in my bank account. I had seen that before. So baby steps are like, definitely helpful. But one day I walked into the choir loft, which was where the choir room, which is where we did our rehearsals, because I got to sing in the choir, which was an amazing experience. And on the wall were these 5 pictographs, each one depicting a step in the 5 steps. And when
Hmm.
I saw the 4th step, it was the hands of a little kid. And this is for the children's church. Like, that's why the pictures are up, right? For the children's church. But hey, always have beginner's mind. So the kid is receiving a gift and
Mhm.
his hands are out and he's holding on to the present. The present is still wrapped, but he's
Mhm.
like, because he got a gift, right?
Mhm.
Give thanks as if you had already received it. I could see that the child was grateful for the present that the child had received, even though he didn't know what it was. And it was like, bink, you could see the light bulb going off over my head. And all
Mm.
of a sudden, I got giving thanks as if it had already happened. So that's really the biggest key for me for manifesting that has made the hugest difference in my life is being able to go to this place where I can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell the thing that has already taken place as if it had already happened, even though it has
Mhm.
not yet, but seeing it in the present. And what that does is it teaches your whole body, your whole nervous system that it's safe to go there, where there
Mhm.
is your $1,000,000. There is doubling the amount of money you've ever made in your life. So, Caitlin, for example, if you were like, the most money you'd ever made in your life was $1,000,000, but you wanted to
Mhm.
get to 5,
Yep.
right? We could work with exercises where you felt that you had your $5,000,000. You're sitting on your, on the beach with your Mai Tai and your family, and your $5,000,000 in the bank or out earning money for you elsewhere, which is even
Mhm.
better. And now you allow that to be true for you. Now you're allowing it to happen. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
See, that's what's interesting is it's always been easy for me to manifest the things that I want. So you mentioned sitting on a beach with a Mai Tai with my kids. Like I can manifest that.
The Mai
Like
Tai.
the
Yeah.
time, the Mai Tai, the sitting on the beach, as long as I can visualize it, it's a thing. But the thing that I have trouble with is I make a lot of money, but I don't keep a lot of money, right? And so there's different ways that like money, I'm good at making money. not good at keeping it, right? I tend to just reinvest in myself constantly, and we do amazing family vacations and things like that. So I've never had like just a stash, like this is just the money that is not doing anything, right? Because I've never been like, why would I want money in account doing nothing, right? Because so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that is because money is just energy. And the way I think of it is like a placeholder, right? We create real value, we insert it into this thing we call money, almost like a battery cell, right? The cell is just holding on to this energy, and then we get to reactivate this energy for real value again. So we give our time, we give our talents, we give our intellectual property, we create value in the world, and people give us this battery cell of cash, right? And then we go and we spend this battery cell of cash and we turn it back into real things like food and experiences and shelter. So
There's nothing wrong with that principle, by the way, of that, real things, because money, if money is just energy, energy can never be destroyed, only
right.
transmuted. It can never be
Yep.
created. So all you're doing it is turning it from one thing to another thing.
Yep.
Your battery is becoming a car, your car is becoming a vacation, your vacation is becoming, the next business thing that you do, and you are creating a cycle. We have the cycle of, it's really the cycle and the flow. So, and we
Right.
want to see it as a cycle. We want to say going out and then coming back in, and going out and coming back in. So what if instead of I can make money but I can't keep it, what if
Mhm.
instead you had a mantra that was I can make money and make my money make more money for me? That would be
Mm,
okay with you, right? If you
right.
started having that belief, right? So
Mhm.
now, well, I need 6 months worth of emergency funds because of my kids. I
Mhm.
need college education money for my kids later. Okay,
Right.
well, now I've got two bank accounts open and some of my money gets spent into those bank accounts. Well, is that
Mhm.
money really being spent? It's not. It's going into stasis. But what we fail to understand, and this is just like a basic like money principle, doesn't really have anything to do with spirituality. Your money is better off out, like somebody, a
Flowing.
spiritual guide explained this to me one time in the way that made so much sense. If every dollar is a soldier, you want to send your soldiers into war. Your soldiers are not doing you any good sitting at home eating food and getting fat. Your soldiers are much better out in battle staying on their feet. Same thing. So it's, like I have investments in, I love real estate, I have investments in real estate.
Mhm.
If I invest in myself and I reinvest money in myself, I am now asking the question, what value am I getting? Because I recognize
Mm.
that, like we've done this for a long time now. I mean, this is today is my ninth anniversary in Halle Eavelyn Enterprises. I just realized looking at the
Amazing.
calendar, today's my ninth anniversary. So I've had this company for 9 years. I've been coaching because I was coaching through my spiritual tours before I ever started coaching for money. I've been coaching for about 15 years. So I've been in learning mode, right, with
Mhm.
all of that stuff. Your money set point is something I learned from T. Harv Eker, Going to the Millionaire Mind. You probably maybe picked that up there or somewhere else. But we get to a point where it's like we do know all the stuff, but we know it here, we don't know it here.
Right.
So when it comes to what our money is doing, your money is better off being a soldier out in the world. When it
Right.
comes to reinvesting in yourself, you want to be asking questions. And one of your questions is going to be, what's my criteria?
Mhm.
Clarity first, right? Always clarity first. Without the clarity, don't make a move. So ask yourself, like, why am I investing in this thing? What is it that I'm looking for?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
once spent $50,000 on a coach to learn that I could charge $50,000 as a coach because I was delivering a crap ton more than this idiot was.
Right.
But,
Yep.
I also learned that when you start spending $50,000, you usually don't sue people. Like I should have been sued 56 times already, but hasn't been. Why is that? Because people are embarrassed, because people don't like to do that. So if you're delivering $50,000 worth or $100,000 worth for $50,000, you got no problem. That was a
Right.
lesson that I learned. Was it worth the $50,000? Yes. Could I have
Yeah.
learned it for a nickel? Also, yes. So
Maybe. Right? Maybe.
Maybe. But when you spend
But at least
$50,000, it hurts so much. You're like, what lessons can I take away from this? There's got to be
exactly.
something valuable for me here. Yeah. So
Um,
for you, when you get your $100,000 a month in or whatever it is that makes you go, oh yeah, I'm really like I can bring in the bacon. You
mhm,
now say, what do I want to do with that? And you
mhm.
assign 10% of it to savings until you have that 6 months of cash.
Well,
You
what I'm
assign
hearing
X.
yeah, what I'm hearing in my head is A, investments, right? Like, how do you get your money working for you? So we always wanna
Yeah,
have a good, like, outline of investments. My husband's hedge fund, you do real estate, right? These things where money is making money. That's the beauty of capitalism. We love it.
mhm,
And the other thing that I'm hearing is that instead of just calling something a savings account, which is generic and neutral and it's making 1% a year and it's not generating money the way I want my money to generate money for me, I maybe need to rename that. And I might need to have separate savings accounts. So kids college fund are we want to have a ranch, right? So the ranch fund,
yeah,
uh the
exactly.
right. So I think I just need to name my savings accounts, whatever the dream is on the other side, so that I'm not just moving money that's making money into a hole where it's not making money. It's more like
Right.
the Kmart layaway plan, right? Where I'm just setting aside some money now for the college, for the ranch.
Blue
And so
light special on aisle 5. Yes, exactly. That's
right.
what you're looking
I'm
for.
just
Yeah.
I'm just paying for my future now, is
Yeah.
the way I think I need to start thinking about the savings. Yeah, I like that.
And you can have savings accounts that are labeled, 6 months in France. You can
Yeah.
have savings accounts that are labeled, mad money or play money or whatever. That's perfectly fine. The thing that a lot of people have a hard time with is the distance between all my bills are paid, all my needs are met, and where they are now. And when
Yes.
that happens, so this is to me is the Renaissance theory. The Renaissance theory says that the only reason that the Renaissance happened was because of patrons. Patrons
Mm,
meant that if you were, you know, Michelangelo, that you did not need to worry about the fact that it was going to be 6 tubes of ground lapis lazuli, semi-precious stones to
right.
create Joseph's coat. That didn't matter. You went ahead and ordered the paint because you knew that, one of the de Medicis was taking care of it. So
Mhm,
as a result of that, you didn't care. You were just creatively unfettered. If
mhm.
you don't have food, clothing, and shelter taken care of, art cannot happen. So the
Right.
Renaissance theory says, what do you need in order to be able to create your own personal Renaissance? And the
Mm,
answer is X dollars per month. For most people, that's 3, 4 extra clients a month. And yet they're having a story and a belief that says, I can't do this because nobody sees my stuff, or I can't do that. Like I work with a woman who she made had her first 6-figure year off of a mailing list of less than 500. She had her first 7-figure year off of a mailing list of like 1,000 people because she got super focused about it.
mhm,
What's possible for you is what's possible for you, what you
mhm,
believe in, and that includes the beliefs that say you can't get there from here is what's
mhm,
going to keep you stuck. So, Caitlin, just what our reframe for you of, hey, let me name these savings accounts
mhm,
might be enough for you to be able to keep all the money that you'd like. But you also want to look at, well, how much money do I need to live? And now that I know how much that is, how much money do I want to allocate towards? I know people who are broke, but they fly all over the world. They do 7 or 8 trips a year. That's all they care about. Are they really broke? No, they're spending their money on the stuff that they care about. And so they don't have money for the other stuff that other people would say that they should care about. They don't care about any of that stuff. That's up to you. That's your personal choice. So I think that's really important to remember as well. But the question is, and this comes back to the energetics of money, what's the story you're telling yourself? Are you
mhm,
telling yourself you're broke because of it? Are you telling yourself, I can't hold on to money, in which case now you've made that true? Are you telling
mhm,
yourself, I'm out there living my very best life and I don't give a crap that I don't have things because I have experiences and that's what I care about?
mhm.
These are the choices. So you want to ask everybody, you want to ask what's my come from?
I love that. And yeah. So I want to make time for questions. We got our first question in the chat, which I'll put up here soon.
Yay!
I would love to hear, practically speaking, what what are some easy ways that the women or men who are listening can start shifting their experience of money right now, like today? What would you recommend?
So the first thing is what we just talked about, which is stop telling yourself that you're wrong. Stop
Mm,
making yourself wrong in every regard. So when you find yourself saying, I can't, that's not possible for me, my family has always, those types of stories, they're true because you believe them. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. You're probably, I'm not the first person to say that, but a belief is really like a calcified thought.
mhm,
That is the first time I've said that, so maybe that's new. That the calcification is the thing you want to just like crack away. So
mhm,
what is the thing that you're saying, and does that need to be true for you? This is the first part of a new year. Let this be your year. Let this be the year where
mhm,
you say, I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to say this now. Because
mhm,
those beliefs, those thoughts are the things that will change everything for us. So I think
mhm,
that's the very first thing. And the second thing is don't be afraid to take inventory. This is
mhm,
how it's been. This is how my money is. This is how my stuff is. This is how my life is. One of the things that I've noticed, you can probably see behind me in my office, I got lots of stuff.
mhm,
There's room and all that, floor is clear, but I've got lots of stuff. So one of the choices that my partner and I have made this year is we're going to have less stuff. We want
mhm,
our eye to fall on things that are peaceful. Right now, if you
mhm,
look down, I have an altar right here on my desk. Now I have like 55 sticky notes and some stuff I need to put away, and that's also on the desk. Those are the things that are getting in the way of your energy. They're interrupting your flow. So look
mm,
for where are you interrupting your energy flow, whether that's because you've got too much stuff on a shelf, or whether that's because you're in a relationship with somebody, maybe a business partner. I just ended one of those as well. It may be a personal relationship, where whatever it is, like where you're like, this is putting a hitch in my giddy up. Or as I like to say, throwing boulders on your superhighway. Like your body, your mind, your spirit work together. You're basically this fine-tuned race car zipping down the superhighway, and you are busy throwing boulders on the superhighway to get in your way. How could you get those boulders? What are your boulders and how could you get them out of the way? So taking
mhm,
inventory, I think, is very important. And the third thing that is like critically crucial, so important, it's like stop everything if this is your issue, is forgiveness. You want to go back and forgive yourself for every financial mistake you've ever made. You want to forgive the people that tried to or did screw you over. You want to forgive yourself most of all. Most of the people that I work with and have worked with, and I've worked with over 2,000 clients by now, most of those people have had a story that says, I cannot forgive this person for X, or worse, I cannot forgive myself for allowing that. And that's the stuff
mm.
that will really, really get in the way. Caitlin's
Yeah,
taking notes on
I
all of
am.
it.
I'm going to put these in the
You go
chat. So
right ahead.
notice your beliefs about money, be intentional about what you speak as your truth about money, take inventory of your stuff and clear out the friction is how I'm going to say it. Like whenever you're feeling like there's resistance or uh yeah, in that flow. And it might be physical stuff, it might be emotional stuff, but clear that out and then forgive yourself and others. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. And
I
that
love
forgiveness stuff is critical because what I find is people will be like, here's my little box. I'm just going to close the box and I'm not going to look inside. And then everything will go
mm,
away. I want to point out to everybody listening that forgive and forget is a stupid phrase. It needs to be decoupled immediately. Forgive is vital, but you will never forget the mistakes that you made. And holding
mhm,
on to the anger, the fear, the shame, the frustration, any of the negative stuff so that you won't forget is erroneous. So you
yeah.
don't ever have to worry about that. When it hurt that
Mhm,
much, you're never going to forget. But you want to
right.
get to a point where you've put the luggage down, you've walked away, you turn around and you look back and you're like, yeah, I used to own that bag. And yeah, I'm sure there's some contents in there, but I don't really remember, what it is. I don't need to pay any attention. Now you're truly able to turn forward and move on from that. And that's really, really important.
I love it. All right, I'm going to pull up our first question from Heather. She's like, I know this
Hi,
in my head,
Heather.
there was a type out, but it hasn't transferred to my heart and my experience. Is step four, the gratitude, the key to why this isn't showing up?
Yeah, so it's such a beautiful question. I think if the smarter we are, the more likely we are to uh, continue to hold things in our heads and not in our hearts. So the
Mm,
way to get it in your in your heart is through your body. So
mhm,
we want to embody, right? That's a good word to use because it means to put it in our body. We want to embody the experience. Thinking about it, obviously, if we could think our way rich, or we could, I mean, I know it's think and grow rich, but it's not just think and grow rich. It's think about growing rich and get the hell out of your own way. How do you get out of your own way? You've got to
mhm,
embody it. And the way to embody it is to see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, and smell it. So we want to use those five senses to bypass the brain. And so to get something into our hearts, we want to go through our bodies. When we feel it, like you don't think love, you feel love, right? And when we feel
mhm,
gratitude, we're not thinking gratitude. We can think, oh, I'm super grateful for it, but it's the feeling of gratitude that will get us to the place that we want to be. So that step four, being grateful, not just thinking a grateful thought, but what can you do to feel grateful? And usually it's not to think directly about the thing that you would be grateful for. So,
mhm,
just to give you an example, I could think about how grateful I am about money. That's a thought. But to feel grateful about money, I really need to feel grateful for the experiences that money gives me. And if I
mhm,
can't get to that point because maybe I haven't felt gratitude in so long, or I haven't felt love in so long, because I work with people all the time that say that,
mhm,
now you can be in a place where, like, what could you be grateful for? Again, this might have
mhm.
nothing to do with the situation. What could you be grateful for? Could you be grateful for the kiss of a small child? Could you be grateful for your puppy? Could you be grateful for kids? And dogs and cats are really good ones because it's so, like, there's just so, it's such clean energy. So
Mhm.
what could you be grateful for? What was the last thing that you did? Like, what can you see around you that makes you go, this is so beautiful? Or, like, for example, I have a spiritual travel business, and this was a gift that we gave out this Christmas. They're little singing bowls, but they have our logo as the seed of life. This is our logo right in here. So
Love
if
it.
I listen to the singing bowl, right, which you can't, I won't do that right now because you can't really hear on the audio.
Mhm,
But if you were to listen to the singing bowl, you go, your sound is an amazing thing because it turns into the vibration and it translates into feelings inside of us. So when you
mhm,
listen to the singing bowl, or you listen to a beautiful piece of music that really moves you, you can start to embody, to feel the thing. And now when you
mhm,
go back to gratitude and you think your grateful thoughts, but from a place of feeling it, that is the key, because it's not just about thinking grateful things, it's about feeling grateful things. It's not just about thinking
mhm.
lovely things, it's about feeling that love. That's what will make the big difference. But absolutely, is gratitude key? Yes. Gratitude to the point where you're like, I'm so grateful for this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And the next thing you know, like, you're just, you're in tears because it's so beautiful. Now you're talking. And now is a good place
Mhm.
to say, oh, I'm so grateful for all these things. I'm also so grateful for that $1 million in my bank account, because now you're in a place of gratitude and it's likely not to have slammed the door shut. But if
Mm,
that happens, if you feel like I can't get there from here, don't try. Just
yeah,
get to the feeling of gratitude. Just feel that experience. Get to the feeling of yes. Get to the feeling. That's what I talk about, is the energy of yes. We want you to get to that place where you're like, and then another thing that's really important, like, I think everybody should have a wealth manifesto, because you want to be intentional. Stuff is going to just, like, general wonderful things can happen to you. Oh, hey, look at that.
it's perfect timing.
HalleEavelyn.com/manifesto. That is actually my wealth manifesto toolkit. And so that's, it's almost like Mad Libs. So it's fill in the blank so that you get your wealth manifesto created, because you want to be coming from an intentional place. It's not just, oh, I want more money. It's why, like, what do you want to do? Like, when I get to that place where I'm super wealthy, I get to what? That creating that wealth manifesto, that intention for who you are as a wealthy person, that's key also, because it's intentional. The universe works beautifully when you can direct it. Otherwise, will it bring you more abundance? Absolutely. Will it be the kind of abundance that you want? You want to let all, yes, please, more, and thank you. You want this and other things as well. That's what's so beautiful.
I love that. Yes, please, more, and thank you.
Yes,
It's
please,
funny,
more, and thank you.
as you were talking about music and sound, I created an Ecstatic Money playlist on Spotify. So I'm going to drop that in there with all of the songs that I could find that like said the things I wanted them to be saying into my brain about money. So you can kind of do some fun with that. Have some fun with that.
Are you
Um,
kidding? I'm downloading that. That sounds amazing.
the other thing that I kind of highlighted for me was this, think if thinking about the money is hard, right? So I do a practice called collective dreaming, where we don't think about the actual goal. So if the goal is to make $1 million, we don't think about the goal itself. We think about exactly what you were saying. What comes after that? What does that allow you to do? How would you be celebrating? And you create the event, the experience, whatever it is that you want to feel after that event has already taken place. And you just spend several minutes visualizing it. Now, we call it collective dreaming because when we're in groups, we do this where each person shares. So for me, it was like, when Ecstatic Way is a household name and people just know how to talk about the framework, I will be invited to speak on Oprah's Soul Sunday, right? So that was the event after I've achieved the fame that I want to achieve. So that was my visualization. And then everybody in my little small group spent several minutes, just 3 minutes with your eyes closed. And you could do this with a couple of your friends because a 3-strand cord is not easily broken. So doing it with at least 2 people and yourself, so that 3 of you are dreaming the same dream together for 3 minutes, is so powerful. And then we come back out and we say, like, well, what did you see when you saw, like, when you put yourself into my dream? Like, were you there with me at Oprah? Were you watching Oprah on television as it was live streamed? Like, how did you place yourself into my reality that I just spoke into existence? And now there's 3 of us who are seeing this future together. So that's one of my favorite exercises. And it's a really easy one for you guys to use as well, is once I achieve X, then what? And when you can play out that video in your mind, you can invite your friends to join you in watching and visualizing that video. And I love the 5 senses, right? Seeing it, smelling it, tasting it, touching it. Like, what am I wearing when I go to see Oprah? Are my kids with me? Like, what did I do when I woke up that morning? What did I eat for breakfast the day that I decided that I was getting to be on Oprah, right? So thinking through all of the nitty-gritty details really helps your imagination to activate this as well. Oh, that's just because our brains don't know the difference between practicing and not practicing. Like, the pianist who visualizes themselves playing the piano activates the same parts of their brain as they do when their fingers are actually on the keys. They have
Yep.
demonstrated that the basketball player who imagines throwing free throws has almost the same level of improvement as the person actually throwing the ball in
Yep.
the net. So all we're doing is we're teaching you how to rehearse your desired future reality, and your brain can't help but treat that like reality. Like, it doesn't have any concept of future, right? It really doesn't. We've
No.
trained ourselves to think in future terms, but we
Yeah.
experience everything as now, right? So it's
Yep.
that's a beautiful way to start thinking and visualizing what you want to achieve and why that matters to you.
And what you just said, the last thing you said is so important, because I mean the whole thing is beautiful, but the last thing you said is very important. By the time the future gets here, we'll call it now.
Mhm.
So when you are imagining something, if you imagine it in the future, it can never happen because the future will never happen. That's
Yes.
why you want to imagine it in the present. And that does a second thing, and that's it teaches your brain that it's safe. Because since your brain can't differentiate, your brain now believes that you've done the thing already and now it
Mhm.
will be safe. Um,
Thank
for everybody who's, a millionaire or multimillionaire, they did not start off that way. Well, most of them didn't start off that way. Most people are not born with said silver spoon. So what happens as they are, um, getting into the world on their own for the very first time is your brain goes, oh, it's only safe to hear. And then by the time you get there, it's like, oh, well, it's only safe to hear. Okay, by the time you get there, so it keeps repeating. That causes imposter syndrome at every level,
Mhm.
because everybody's like, everybody's brain works the same way. Here
Yeah.
is safe. Anywhere else that is not here is not safe. Don't
Yeah.
go because it's not safe. So you have to
Mhm.
just accept it. My other favorite bumper sticker coaching, in addition to yes, please, more, and thank you, is some of that for me, please. If you see somebody else having the experience, you can say some of that for me, please, and that draws it in. Because what tends to happen is if you're afraid, if you've got that imposter syndrome, you'd be like, well, Caitlin's got all this success and I don't. Guess what? You just put in your order at God's Deli for a roast beef sandwich when what you actually wanted was ham on rye. So you
Right.
have to shift that, focus on how do you get the ham on rye? You order the ham on rye. Oh, Caitlin's got that. I love that Caitlin's got that. Caitlin's my way shower to show me what's possible. Caitlin's
Mm.
showing I could have that too. And
Yeah.
that's why when it comes to money, like everybody running around running around you that has money, you can be like, some of that for me, please. I
Yeah.
accept that for me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the beautiful thing about mirror neurons is if we can see it, we can become it, right? So our brain has to see it and visualize it. So finding women who are successful, spiritual, wealthy, happy in their love life, right? If you can find those unicorns, hold on to them, right? And just start spending time with them and say, how I want more of what you are clearly having. And I don't think anybody's life is perfect, right? But you can
No.
still start seeing, like my first mentor, Fabian Fredrickson, right? She was the first woman who had built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch, was still happily married to her husband, had 3 beautiful, healthy, well-adjusted kids, was a spiritual human being, and like and now she's living in France, right? I wanted to travel and she was traveling. So it was like, oh, I can actually see somebody in reality living all of the things that I want in my complete picture. Right. And so it's a really beautiful thing when you can find those people and just start, tailing them around a little bit. Holly, well, I want to wrap up and have you tell me kind of any last words of wisdom or things that you want to have people taking away. And I'll give you a moment to think about that while I pull up your toolkit. So please go to halleevelyn.com/manifesto. Her first name is Halle. Well, there's just E. And then there's another E for her last name, which is EAVELYN for those of you guys who are listening to the audio. So halleevelyn.com/manifesto to get your Wealth Manifesto Mad Lib kit. I'm so excited to get mine and fill it out today so I can kind of manifest the next level. Because here's the beautiful thing is no matter how amazing your life is, right? If we've ever done the wheel of life, I always choose 9s. Maybe this is my downside, but I'm always super grateful for everything that I have in my life now and what more is possible. Like, what is the
Yeah.
next level of expansion and delight and joy? And this is how much I can contain and love and enjoy and be grateful for now. But tomorrow, my capacity is going to increase and there will be more money that I can manage well. There's going to be more happiness and joy that I can handle. There's going to be more love in my life. And so just continually expanding that bubble of worthiness um, every day, I think is our goal.
I love that. That's absolutely beautiful. I think the thing that I want people to know is, and we're going to go back to our music metaphor, there are some songs that have been covered hundreds or even thousands of times. I actually did uh, I did this for a course that I taught, um, the song "Luck Be a Lady." I had a
Mm.
live version of that that I was lucky enough to record when Lady Gaga was performing it. She just like killed it. It was amazing. And I started thinking about it, and Frank Sinatra covered "Luck Be a Lady." He actually sang "Luck Be a Lady" because he was in the movie of Guys and Dolls, where the song is from. And there were many songs like that or many versions like that of songs where people had, like Barbra Streisand also did "Luck Be a Lady." There were over 2,000 versions. Why? Why are there so many versions of the same material when, Frank did it, Barbara did it? Why is even Lady Gaga doing it, let alone like the, 1,900 people in between? Because everybody has their own version, because everybody
Mhm.
has their own interpretation, because everybody has their own thing to say.
Mhm.
And so do you. So if
Mhm.
you're not getting your word out there, or your message out there, or your vision out there, because somebody else has already done it, the answer is somebody else has not done it the way that you will do it. And you're getting
Mhm.
called to do something because somebody else wants to do it also. And
Mhm.
if you don't provide that outlet, somebody else is going to do it, okay, but they're not going to do it the way that you could do it. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, remember, you are the lighthouse, right? And if you don't shine your light, there's going to be ships that hit the rocks because you didn't do your thing. So
Mhm.
stop being afraid of shining your light. Get out there and do it, because nobody else can do it through your eyes and through your hands. That's why God, or your higher power, whatever you want to call it, is here to experience that through you. And
Mm.
so as you invite more of that in, now you can get back to where Caitlin is, which is, how can this be even better, even better, even better?
Mhm. That's so beautiful, and I love that idea of being the lighthouse and shining your light, and there was so much imposter syndrome when I first started, like, this isn't new, right? It's not, because it's ancient, right? People have been speaking some version of the ecstatic way for almost 5,000 years now. And I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Truth is universal. And what I have been given is my flavor, that maybe the person who hasn't heard it in this way before is finally able to drink that water of life, right? So, whatever it is that you're doing, don't worry about having to be original or perfect, right? There's nothing new under the sun. All of us are just trying to keep reflecting the divine light in our unique facet. So shine as bright as you can. Do it exactly your way. Don't try to emulate every other way, because we don't need their light. We need yours. So beautiful reminder. Thank you, Hallie. Thank you for sharing your light with us. Definitely go to halleevelyn.com to learn more about this amazing wealth manifestation queen. And in the meantime, sending you all lots of love and big hugs.
Thank you so much. Bye.